You're not alone in this. It can happen to anyone. There's many faces of a homeless person. It can happen to anyone. Many of the reasons why people enter these doors is because they have a mental illness, drug addiction, losing their homes, being burnt out of their homes, being kicked out of their homes, not being able to know how to be self-sufficient, don't know how to pay a bill, don't know how to obtain or maintain a house or a home or apartment, anything.
You can almost give up sometimes, but you know you can't. And it's so hard. It is so hard. I'm only 18 years old. It is so hard. It is hard. I know it's hard.
I rode the trains at night. It's pretty hard.
I'm walking down the street, I'm a homeless, crazy kid, talking to myself, and I just want to know, if I was talking to God, I just want to know why. Why did you choose me to go through this?
God does things for reasons. I already did a shelter. I already had an apartment. Now I'm in the shelter again. I wish to get out the shelter. I wish for my kids to have a good life and go to school, go to college. I sat here 7 months, and I've been telling y'all that I am not homeless. I have a home. I just cannot go home because the court didn't recommend it, and ACS said if I go home, they're gonna snatch my kids. And they're gonna tell me I owe them. They told me I owe them $8,000. I said, how the hell do I owe you anything? So they add all this stuff up. To me, all the stuff added up still don't come up to $6,000 and some change, but to them it do. So I wouldn't have been never backed up if I would have knew that. Somebody would have said, Olivia, this is what you gotta do. But nobody never said that to me.
I was born June 5th, 1957, prior to human and civil rights, for African Americans. My mom, she left me when I was 2 years old. My father, he left me when I was 12. So I've been homeless at the age of 12.
My mother didn't want to tell me that she was dying. In the months prior to her being shipped to the hospice, she was falling behind in the rent because she couldn't work anymore. The landlord allowed me to sign the lease over into my name, knowing full well that when I signed the lease over, I also signed over the debt. I was evicted from the apartment. I couldn't keep up with the rent because it was $5,000 in debt.
I take my claim to fame. I'm a published, acknowledged, and awarded poet. And I received a Critics' Choice Award. My name is engraved in stone in the National Endowment of Arts. I became homeless. Drug addiction, alcoholism, irresponsibility. I didn't take care of the things that I was supposed to take care of. I've been on this street at least 10 years.
I married young, and because I married young, certain parents weren't okay with certain things, and so I was forced to go out into the world on my own. I was discharged from foster care because I ended up, my father ended up losing me, and I ended up in foster care my senior year of high school. My spouse's mother is an alcoholic, so we can't even stay with her. She was taking my spouse's SSI check, which is why we ended up in the homeless shelter. So it's one big circle of nobody helping us, one big circle of us not going to school, looking for a job, being turned down, not having money for transportation, not being able to take a shower. So it's just so much going on. You're being pulled in multiple directions. And all you're trying to do is figure out what is the right step to take next. It's hard. It's hard, especially when you would think something like the Food Stamp Administration would help you, especially here. I told them I'm living here. I applied for food stamps Valentine's Day, and they gave me emergency food stamps 10 days later. 10 days later, I was in here eating oodles and noodles for 10 days.
I've hit rock bottom so many times that the only thing I know to do is go up. I'm 46 years old. I've been in and out of the system pretty much most of my life, and I've had a serious issue as far as being homeless most of my adult life. I've never really in all my life had my own place, my own key, with my own lease, paying my own rent, that I can come and open the door and say, hey, come on in, this is my home. I've never had that, and I long for that, because I think once I have that, I'll never let it go.
That when I look back in my life, I did everything society says that you're supposed to do in order to be a good person. I did everything my mother raised me to do. I was polite. I am polite. I went to school, I graduated, I did everything the society says. I went to work. I actively sought looking for a legal 9-to-5 job. I resisted the opportunity to sell drugs and to make that fast buck. I did everything that society says that you're supposed to do. Every single thing that they say, you know, will make a successful individual, and I still became homeless.
I came to New York City simply because, you know, the system is greater than it is of New Jersey. You know? They help, you know, homeless people, you know, to an extent. You know, the Bowery, everybody slept out there on the street in the cardboard boxes. They slept on blankets, as they still sleep out there today. They're building this area up, and they're pushing homeless people out.
It was a time in my life when I slept in Central Park in the summertime, and in the wintertime at 34th Street Penn Station, or Port Authority, or Grand Central. There was a lot of money being made in these streets illegally. I got caught up in a lot of nonsense that, looking back now, knowing what I know now, and the outcome of the choices that I made, if I could go back, a lot of things would be different. A lot of us don't have the opportunities that a lot of people have, and we have to make do with what we have.
I used to be in the streets. I used to be a hooker. And once I had Lucy, I was like, you know, I kept begging God, let me get a girl. When I get a girl, I'm not gonna be a slut no more. Then finally, he gave me a girl that was sick. Like, she had a lot of problems with her. And I said, now I really gotta stop. And that's when I really stopped. That was a big turning point for me in my life.
I used to live in the Bronx. And when I moved in there, it was a beautiful building, beautiful apartment, you know? But everybody that lives in there come out of a mental institution. I come out of a penitentiary. You know? I just couldn't deal with it, you know? So I left, you know? I'd rather sleep on a cardboard box.
I've been homeless since 2006. There have been so many times where I just wanted to end it. I thought about it, planned it. Then on top of that, I had disappeared as well after I became homeless because I was so embarrassed and so ashamed. If I ran into somebody on the streets that I haven't seen in a while and they didn't know what happened to me, the worst thing they could ask me is, you know, how are you doing, Anthony? And I would just be ashamed because I wouldn't know how to respond to that. Like, how do you tell somebody, oh, I'm homeless, I'm living on the streets, sleeping on trains and buses. I just wanted to get out of that situation. I didn't want to ride the trains for the rest of my life and end up becoming a statistic. So I decided to swallow my pride and go to the 30th Street Men's Shelter and get pointed in the right direction on where I could find some help in this city. That's when I realized I'm at rock bottom. I have nothing but the clothes on my back and the clothes in my book bag.
I know sometimes people want to think that being in the shelter is dangerous, but trust and believe me, it's dangerous on the street than it is being in the shelter. It's by far, by far.
Being homeless is way more expensive than having your own place. It is way more expensive. And if they would have let me stay in the shelter for a couple more months, I probably would have been just fine. I probably would have been just fine. All I needed was a little help, a little support, and everything else would have been just fine. I ended up selling my MacBook. I ended up quitting school just so I can have a place to stay, just to make sure I'm not riding the trains all night. And to pay the rent, I couldn't get a job right away. So what did I do? I started stripping. I stripped for maybe 3 months to make sure that I could pay rent. So it makes you realize what you have to do. It puts your priorities in check. It makes you realize that when you get up in the morning, what are you gonna do to make sure you still have this pillow underneath your head? And if you wake up thinking that every day, you'll be all right on the outside.
Honestly, the streets were my role model, because I came up in an environment where you had hustlers, you had drug dealers, you had con men, you had pimps, you had stick-up kids, and that's all that I had to look at. These guys are driving $60,000, $70,000 cars, flying all around the world. So it was hard not to see all that glamorous and not want it for myself. Nobody gave me hope. Society didn't give me hope. I didn't have a good role model. I love my mother to death, you know, God bless her soul. But she wasn't the best of parents, but she was mine.
I remember my dad used to make us stand in the corner with a book on our head because we took cookies out of his cookie jar. And then my dad and my mom broke up. My dad moved on, and my mom started using drugs.
I always came back pretty much to the streets. I pretty much, you know, wasn't serious about trying to change. I was caught up in my addiction. I was getting high every day. I was in the streets 24/7. And all I was doing was chasing a particular drug, the crack cocaine, to get high, get high, get high, get high, all day long. Then as time passed, I used to think about getting off of it. But it was a hard thing to fight for a long time. I've been clean now about almost 3 years.
I ran the streets a lot because it was an easy way out. The things I was doing, I didn't have to read. But now, it might not seem like nothing to nobody, but to me it's a lot. I read on a first grade level, which a year ago, 2 years ago, I couldn't even do that. My baby, Luciana, she's handicapped. She's 5, her mind is 3, and I'm reading her books. It took me a long time. I'm gonna be somebody, and I'm going places.
10.5 years, I served my time, man. I mean, leave me alone. Just let me live, let me work. I can't even get a job at a 12 to 8 midnight in an office building, sweeping, mopping floors, you know, emptying garbage. I want the same thing that every New Yorker and every American has, freedom. I want to pay my own rent. I want to pay my own bills. I want to pay my own cell phone. I don't, you know, they give me a cell phone that's free. It's not mine. You're paying for it with your tax dollars, and I don't think that's fair. All I want is freedom to get off the streets.
In order to have something in life, you have to have something worth living for. I have to have something within myself. I have to have a sense of self. My day begins with somebody waking me up, annoying me, waking me up, threatening me to get off their property. The only day of peace I really have being on the church step It's on Mondays because nobody comes in on Monday. Sometimes I dread the next day to come. Just so exhausted, mental anguish and despair.
Half the time I want to get out of the bed. I know I have to, because the kids gotta go to school.
Every day is like a cycle, and up and down. I wake up and I'm thankful and I'm hopeful and optimistic, and then as soon as the sun starts going down, as soon as the weather starts getting rough, then that's when it hits me, and I realize that I really am homeless and that this is my life.
I walk. You know, whenever you see me, I'm walking. You know, and that's what I do. I got that from my grandmother. You know, when I was a kid, she says, Robert, get your coat and hat. I say, where we going, Grandma? She says, walking. Now, and that's what I do. I walk. I walk. All I have is knowledge and walking. Knowledge and walking. And I walk hard. I don't mind sharing. I don't mind sharing to anybody. But all I can do now is walk. You know, I may find some people out here that will walk and talk with me. You know, I have fun. You know, we stop, we get coffee, they buy me, you know, something to eat, you know. It's called walking. That's what I do. That's all I know how to do now is walk.
I've lived at maybe 4 different addresses since I've got kicked out of the shelter. Trying to ride out a year just to go back. Trying to ride out a year just to go back. I live here. There's no running water. There's no heat. I stay in this room right in the front with 2 space heaters, 2 dogs, and my spouse. This isn't even my place. This is my father's place. This is an abandoned building owned by the bank that my father is the property manager of. I'm just here by the grace of him. And guess what? He's still making me pay rent. I pay $50 a week to stay here. That's money I could have saved. And before here,
I live in 1 big room with 4 beds, a small TV, because they said we can't have a big TV, an oven, a refrigerator, and a little small bathroom.
I sleep in the church at night. I go in like 2-3 hours, get some sleep. They'll let me run downstairs and take a shower, you know, give me a change of clothes, and from there I leave out. But I don't stay there. You got staff that comes out and walk across the street and come pick me up and say, go in there and lay down. You know, I'm not just a homeless bum out here. You got people that do love me and do care about me.
The shelter I'm in now is called an assessment shelter. That's where they supposedly, quote unquote, assess your needs and wants and try to help you set some goals for yourself and things of that nature. I have 2 daughters that I haven't seen in so long that they probably don't even remember what I look like. And that's one of the main reasons why now I'm trying to get my life together and try to be responsible. I left my mother, she's dead, and I wasn't there.
It's hard to be a mother to try to teach your kids right from wrong, to learn how to read, and you barely know how to read. I want to teach my kids you don't have to do the illegal way. You can get by doing the legal way and having faith in God. So that's what I teach my kids all the time, especially my son, because it's hard for a black boy. It's hard for a black man. So I teach him to go to school. I was just crying the other day, Malcolm, please go to school. I don't want you to be like this. I don't want you to be in public assistance, asking them for help, and they put you through so much. I don't want you to go through none of that. So go finish school. I know it's hard. I told him, I said, I didn't finish, and that's why I'm going through this. You're going to finish. And he said, Mom, I'm going to finish. And even the security guard at the welfare center was like,
What made me so determined to survive on these streets was the fact that I had to think about the events that led up to everything. My mother moved out of Baltimore when she was 18, and she was determined to make it on her own, and she did. She made it to New York at 18, and she got her own apartment. She worked her way up to the top. She got a 2-bedroom apartment. She never lived in a housing project. She never went that route, and that always amazed me how she was able to survive through that. She was able to support me for my whole school career, my entire childhood. I didn't have the best clothes. I didn't have Jordans every time they came out, but I was clean, I had school supplies, I was going to school, and I was making it. And when my mother passed away, I wanted to succeed because I wanted to do it for her honor. I'm a spiritual person. I'm not necessarily religious, and I don't really know what happens after death. I don't know if she's somewhere looking down on me or if she's really gone and she has no idea. But regardless of the fact, I want to be able to make her proud. I want her to be able to say, oh, I left my only son by himself, but at least I know I gave him the tools and I taught him enough so that way he's going to be able to make it on his own. I want to be able to look back and say, wow, I remember when I was like this. I remember when I was homeless and I was sleeping on the trains and I was too proud to, tell my friends where I was sleeping, and I was, just.
When I'm out here panhandling, hustling, I'm risking my life. I'm in the middle of the street on the yellow line. I have to be, my senses has to be aware. Cars, trucks, buses, motorcycles, bicycles, mopeds.
Everybody wants something, but nobody really wants to work for it. I can't expect to be clean and sober if I don't work for it, so I refuse to lie to myself. I have to look at myself in the mirror every day, so I can't do that. But the long-term thing is just fighting my addiction and fighting the relapse and trying to stay sober and stay focused on what I'm trying to do. And it's crazy because I'm going to, I never used to do outpatient. I'm about to try to find me a home group for NA so I could make, 30 meetings in 30 days, learn the steps, get a sponsor. These are a lot of things that I never put no work or effort into. So now,
I'm an alcoholic, I drink so I don't feel. I drink simply because I want to block out. I drink simply because I don't want to wake up. But, that's basically how it is out here. I don't see nothing good for me. My past is the obstacle that holds me down. I can't outlive it. I gotta face it every day. Sometimes when I'm over there on 42nd Street and 8th Avenue early in the morning, I see all these people moving, going to work. I want to be in that crowd too.
Just take that eraser and say, and fill in those screwed up parts, fill it in with the parts that should have been what it should have been. A correct life, a stable life, an inspiring life. Somewhere along the line, I don't want to be remembered as a crackhead or even a homeless derelict. I want to be remembered as an inspiration in many ways.
Life's changed me because it's an ongoing thing. Who's to say what can happen tomorrow, right? But I'm a different person than I was a year ago. I'm a different person than I was 20 years ago. Last year this time, I was in jail. I was locked up. My mother had just passed away a couple of months earlier. I was totally depressed, and I really just was at a bad time. So when I look at where I'm at today, I'm good. I can wake up and hang out with my girlfriend on her birthday today. I can wake up and go to Central Park. I'm motivated to succeed. I'm motivated to have a better life, to have my own place. 46 years old, and just learning how to live life and how to be a productive person.
It's not going to the store and figuring out what you're bringing home for dinner that night. It's what you're gonna do that day to make sure you still have a place to stay at the end of the day. That's running around, finding paperwork, changing your address. I've changed my address a million times. My P.O. box just expired a couple days ago.
I was crying last night. It's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know.
Before the footing and the rug was pulled out from under me, I was just so optimistic. And I look back at pictures and I look back at writings and getting so close to the finish line and then tripping and then falling and then stumbling and then the setbacks, then you just get discouraged and you're just like, fuck, I don't want to keep doing this.
I wouldn't wish this on nobody. When I went through with me, my kids, and my fiance, I don't think nobody can do this without no type of faith because it's hard, it's difficult. You have to keep your spirits up, especially when you have kids. And there's a lot of women that don't have no help. Like, you know, they can't go to nobody and say, could you help me at all?
I can't do it again. I can't do it again. But if I had to, like if my little brother was with me, then I would have no choice because my little brother, my father just lost my little brother, which means he's in jail right now. My father's in jail right now, and he lost my little brother to ACS, so my little brother's gonna be in foster care just as I was last year. And I'm gonna have to leave here.
I just hope and pray. I went for this apartment interview through this place called Common Ground, Street to Home, and oh God, you have no idea. It's like, how do you say? I can't wait to get the results, and I look forward to be nothing but positive.
Cold, hungry, broke. It's rough out here. We're in a war zone. We're living in a time of revelation. We're at the end. We're at the crossroads. Can't keep straight, you gotta go left or right. But the right may be the wrong way. You may have to go left. And we can't look at a Reverend Jesse Jackson, because all he's gonna tell you is keep hope alive.
It sort of feels like my life is like a bad movie. I want to walk out. I don't want to see the end of it. I know that the movie sucks. If you know that the movie has a bad ending, you want to get up and leave. You know, just throw me a life preserver because I'm drowning out here.
You have more young people homeless today than you ever had in history.
Everybody has a dream. I think dreams are what keep people going. It gives people the courage and the energy to look past the darkness and look past the things that aren't going well in their lives and to keep looking forward to what could be. And one of my dreams is to be a filmmaker. It's always been my dream ever since I was a child. And
My dream is to be an activist, to make a difference. Well, human and civil rights you know, for African Americans back in the days was really hard. You know? I'm not a Dr. King, I'm not a Malcolm X, I'm not a Minister Louis Farrakhan, you know? But I too can make a difference if I'm given a chance, you know? I just want to be able to, just to have a chance. I can make a difference.
All I want to be is successful in doing something right. And regardless of how successful that it is, anything better than what I have accomplished.
If I could just help one person by telling them about my experiences and telling them about the things that I went through, if I could help change that person's life, then I don't even have to whisper in God's ear to give me a break. I just be thankful that he allowed me to live and help somebody live a better way of life.
If I can have it my way before I pass away, later down the line, I would love to be in a nicer house or apartment and have all my kids and, you know, maybe somewhere down the line get a job.
Homelessness should never be, people should not be homeless unless they wanted to be homeless.
What they say is the only reason you should be homeless is if there's a fire, a flood, or an eviction.
You know, you have individuals who made a self-conscious decision to be out here, you know, homeless. Then you have those, you know, who haven't, you know. Society has a myth, you know, with false concepts and characterizations. That is not the reality of homeless people. You know? You got to look at us on an individual level. You cannot broad brush us. You can't place emphasis on me as a form of a justification to say this is the way all homeless people are, because it's not true.
You can sit in a room with people and see that this isn't their first time doing this. They've been doing this over and over and over again, still trying to get it right. Still trying to get it right. Still trying to prove to somebody who doesn't know you from a hole in the wall that you're homeless.
When you're homeless, you have to say, well, where's the closest soup kitchen around here? It's 1 o'clock, so I know at 2:30 they're gonna start serving lunch at this time, so I better hurry up and get there because they're gonna only serve it from 2:30 to 3:30. And then if I don't get anything to eat between 2:30 and 3:30, I'm gonna be out of luck until 6, 7 o'clock when they serve dinner at the next church or the next shelter. This is the material world. Like, you can have it all one day, but, you know, the wrong stroke of luck and you can be out on the street, living in your car if you have one, or living on the subway stations, or, you know, anything.
See more people due to their homes going in forfeit and they couldn't pay the bills, or the person coming through the door and they're not able to pay their rent, or the person coming through the door but it don't have no type of income coming in, or their income was shut off, or do not have. I mean, when they come through the door, they feel so down. They feel like, you know, so humiliated.
Started to realize that there really is a stigma about homeless people. When you look at a homeless person, you just assume that they did something wrong.
So it's really all about how it's the system. It really is the system. They really feel like you are lower than them if you are homeless. Oh, if you did this and if you did that, you wouldn't be here. Well, you don't know what I've been through.
I wonder, is there anybody here who lays at midnight, shed by his tears, all because they didn't have no one to help them along the way? You know, Lord, and if there is anyone, Lord, let me tell you what I've done. I asked Jesus to build a fence around me.
and to protect me every day.
God, I know I ain't been the most faithful servant in your house, but ease up, man. You know, like, make something better for somebody, even if it's not for me. Just give me a little more hope than I got. I need a break already. Like, true story.